Right away. So the next keynote speaker is Javed Rizvi. He worked for a long time in C4ICRAF, currently a new name, brand new name, Landscape Alliance, as a director for Asia Pacific program. Currently he works as a senior advisor. However, just relatively recently on the last World Congress on Agroforestry in Kigali, he became a president of International Union of Agroforestry, which is kind of a sister organization that covers, however, the whole world. Okay, Javed, come to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning. In a conference, if your presentation is the last one, it's very beneficial and challenging as well. Beneficial because people are already tired. You don't get too many questions and discussion and those things, so it goes very easy. Challenging because still you have to convey the message you wanted to convey, and you have to achieve your goal. For that you have traveled. So I will try to keep the balance and keep you awake and convey my message. So far we have been discussing about agroforestry in Europe, and then the last presentation was about Africa. I will try to take you to another landscape in Asia so that we can have a kind of global perspective at EURAF. Before we go to Asia, let's talk a little bit about the end user of agroforestry. So when we say who is using agroforestry, we say farmer or a tree grower. And when we say farmer, then what is the imagination? You think a farmer in Australia, in USA, in Europe, it's a completely different picture. But if you go to Asia and Africa, you say farmer, it's a completely different picture. And what I mean, in Asia, more than 80% farmers are doing subsistence farming. The farm size is average less than 2 hectares per family. And the whole aim of the agriculture is to support the family based on that small piece of land throughout the year. So agroforestry in Asia and largely in Africa is an additional practice for the farmer to diversify his or her income, to get more nutritional food, to get some additional livelihoods, and support the family. The system also is quite a bit different because government supports small farmers to plant trees so that they can have more benefits and more food, more financial gain, so that government does not have to support financially too much to the farmers. And for that, the government provides support in terms of free seedling, free inputs, training, and all those stuff, but they don't pay money that how many trees are standing in your field. The benefit is the product of the tree that farmer is getting. It could be timber, it could be fodder, it could be food, it could be oil, it could be anything from the tree. So, and the government's benefit is in supporting farmers that they want to achieve their commitments like nationally determined NDCs, and also their commitment to different, international forums that some countries say by 2030 we will reduce our emission by this much and this much. So that's the way how government supports, and then what governments get out of it. So let's go to before we start the presentation, there is something to celebrate. So this is the 50th year of the term agroforestry when it was coined. Some places it is said that it was coined in 1973, but I find it more convincing based on the references that it was done in 1976. Interestingly, the term was coined by a forester. Very often we see a kind of conflict between agriculture and forestry. I don't see any reason why there should be when the term was coined itself by a forester. And I think we owe a lot to him because of his vision. We are sitting here today and we are talking about agroforestry. John Bene was his name, and he worked in Canada. Based on that study, the EURAF was established, which was initially not an international center. It was called International Council, and mainly focusing on agroforestry in Africa. And then 1991, EURAF became an international global center to focus and dedicate only on agroforestry. So what has been done in past 50 years? Just a snapshot. It started 73 or 76. Now several universities are offering master's degree, PhD degrees. So many national societies, regional forum, and then quite a few are listed here, including EURAF. Then one is in North America, Latin America, and then we have this global forum which born in 2019, the International Union of Agroforestry as well. If we see how is the journey of agroforestry, then it is part of so many international or intergovernmental panel or framework that you have a list there: IPCC, UNFCCC, UNCCD, CBD. And then the most interesting thing is CGIAR did a study, and it was found that 23 countries recognize agroforestry very useful for mitigation, and 29 countries for adaptation, and to achieve their nationally determined contributions, which is NDC. And then we have been having the World Agroforestry Conference, that 6 conferences have been already organized. On an average, 80 to 85 countries represented, 900 delegates, and 7th will be in 2018. We will talk later. So during this conference and during my correspondence with the colleagues in EURAF, there was a lot of discussion about policies, that how and why we should have an agroforestry policy, how it can be developed, and what are the problems in developing dedicated agroforestry policies, and what is happening in different countries, in different continents about this. So we have already discussed that there are broader policies like agriculture policy, environment policy, forestry policy, where agroforestry is embedded. And then there are some dedicated agroforestry national policies in few countries. And then there are strategies and recommendations. And so we will have a quick look what is happening, a global scenario. I believe this is very up to date, but if something is missing, please let me know so that we can modify this. So far, there are only 4 countries globally which have dedicated national agroforestry policy. India was the first one globally in 2014. Then in 2019, Nepal, 2020, Belize, and most recently, Maldives in 2026. And then there are countries which are having agroforestry strategies on the right-hand side, maybe here, yeah, right-hand side. Bhutan, Gambia, Rwanda, and Uganda. And then there are, broader umbrella policies like agriculture, environment, forestry, different names, and then agroforestry is embedded there. One interesting example is from ASEAN countries in Southeast Asia, where 11 countries, it's like an intergovernmental organization, and they came together and developed a guideline for agroforestry, which is followed by all the 11 member countries. We as C4 EURAF or World Agroforestry, we feel privileged that we have been involved in all the, out of 4, at least 3 national policies and the ASEAN guidelines. And so what is the advantage? Why we should have a separate policy? If we look as a case study, any country where a dedicated agroforestry policy has been formulated and implemented. So, for example, in case of India, we found there were almost 34 different kinds of policies, strategies, laws, which were in one way or the other affecting agroforestry or tree plantation. And then talking to all these stakeholders, it was very clear that we cannot convince 35 government ministries or departments to change their existing policies. It was impossible to convince all of them. So a consensus was, it's easy to convince the government to make one more policy which says, from now onwards, this is the strategy, or this is the policy, this is the stand of the government, the past is past. So no previous recommendation or rule or regulation can stop people from planting trees, harvesting trees, selling trees. Whatever you want to do, you do with your tree. So nobody is going and asking you, why you cut this tree, you have to do this, you have to pay a fine or something. So that was the most important thing that came into the mind, that it's easier to make a new policy rather going back and trying to convince 40, 30 departments and ministries to change their existing ones. The one thing which here also we discussed a lot, how to convince policymakers or politicians to have these policies. And I think I was discussing with one of the colleagues here, and it's the main thing based on my personal experience, because I had the privilege to be involved in all the 4 national policies, is to speak the language of the politicians and policymakers when we go to them. We go to them and still talk as scientists, and that doesn't work. They want to listen something else. And I cannot go into detail what they want to listen, but I think all of us know, for a politician, what is the most important thing. So just please use your imagination, and then you can understand what I am saying. He or she doesn't want to hear how much carbon will be fixed and what will happen. So if I am a politician, I want to ensure that next time I will be here, I will be elected again. So we need to give the data and explain them what is beneficial for them, what we are talking, not what is our agenda, what we want to do. And it's a difficult job, but I think trust can be created, and I would say it's very useful. Some of our colleagues say, you know, oh, I know the minister, I know the prime minister, so everything is very easy. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Minister, prime minister doesn't do anything. He will tell 20 people under him, go and do. So we have to work top down, and we have to work bottom up as well. So in the ministry, it's not only the minister and secretary, but other people also who are sitting on a specialized desk. We have to talk to them, and we have to convince them why this is important. If we are lucky to have access to the minister and prime minister, wonderful. Why not? This is an example that how, if you are connected to high level, yes, things get easier. So The first picture is from India. We had a delegation to Prime Minister directly and explained to him why policy is important, what is the benefit, what is happening, and I will show you in other slides how things improved after that. The below one is from Nepal. Very often we have problem. If there is a policy, which ministry should have the, what happened? Somebody help me? Okay, sorry about this. So very often there is a kind of the system is afraid of you. So in many countries we face this problem that the Ministry of Agriculture says agroforestry is our domain. We should be leading agroforestry, and forestry ministry says no, this is our domain. And it's a very fine line that we have to play together, and we have to convince both that you both are important, because without agriculture and forestry, there is no agroforestry. So we were lucky in the picture you see in Nepal with caps. Both the ministers are with me, and we are releasing the policy of Nepal. The third one is from Maldives. Very recently, minister was fully on board, supportive, and then everything went smooth. The left side is the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Still it's under work in progress. So yes, it helps if we have access to senior policymakers. I don't know why this color combination is here, but if you can see that. So it's just a success story. What happened in India? Yeah, we in every country, maybe few policies are made every year, then what happens? Sometimes they stay in the shelf of the government, nothing happens. So it's like 10, 12 years almost. So we did a quick study, what happened after the policy, and in the past 10 years, I think the biggest achievement is that India tree cover, I'm not saying forest cover because it's forest plus trees outside forest and including agroforestry, has increased by 2%. Maybe it looks very small number, 2%, but please have the size of India as well in the background. Then we understand that we are talking about maybe half a billion hectare or something by that. And it's not only that we assessed. Recently, FAO did an assessment, and they also kind of certified that it is the national agroforestry policy of India. Because of that, the tree cover has gone up. And among top 5 countries in the world, India is also included. So we think policy has played a very important role. Currently, it is practiced in India on 28 million hectares. 70% of India's timber requirement is coming from agroforestry, and 90% of paper pulp requirement is coming from agroforestry. So that's some very solid evidence that how transformational changes can occur if a policy is formulated and then implemented, of course. Anything that we want to do needs money. And luckily, at least in India, it worked very well because it started with the few changes where first thing, India government invested almost $150 million as a core fund to promote agroforestry. And then I think the biggest money came from I believe that system is everywhere. It is called over there corporate social responsibility. So if you are a corporate and doing business in India, you have to invest back 2% of your profit in environment-related aspects. And we were very happy that in that list we could include agroforestry. So big money came through that. And then when the annual budget is being given to state government, there is a clause that more the tree cover, you get more budget from the federal government. So these things work very well together. But if we say everything is very rosy and all policies work very well or initiatives are going great, I think that will not be fair. And even, later also I will talk a little bit, because we as a practitioner or scientist or whatever we call ourselves, we feel shy in talking about the negative effects. We always try to show and highlight the positive things, and that is, I think, it's not very good, because that creates problem for us as well. So a couple of examples. We have friends from UK, and there is a tax break when you plant trees and you get some inheritance, then there is a tax break. So, I mean, there is no time to go into detail, but to get that tax break, the native vegetation is being removed and people plant trees that, okay, when I know that my grandfather is going to leave me something huge amount, so let's plant trees and I can get the, so the policy has a good intention that, we will give you tax break, but then we need to rethink or do something about it, because it's adversely affecting biodiversity, and then at the other hand, we are claiming that agroforestry supports biodiversity. Indian agroforestry policy, that we said a lot of things about it, but initially until now, it's mainly focusing on woody species, timber and these things, but not other trees like fruit trees or trees of medicinal value. It has to be inclusive. But we always know that no policy is a final document. It's a living document. It should be a living document, and it should be modifying based on the lessons. So what is the message coming out of this success story? I think we already covered. I'm trying to go a little bit fast because I don't want to test your patience to the end. So I was talking about, correct me if I am wrong, but very often I have seen this, we do not give the same importance to the negative result that we give to the positive results, and we exhibit more the positive side. The downside of doing this is, people who practice agroforestry, if they do not know if agroforestry is not practiced the right way, based on the local knowledge and the scientific knowledge, if you choose a wrong species, if you plant a tree in a place which is not good for that ecology, then it is going to backfire. So if we publish these results and publicize these results, then people will understand that agroforestry is not just to take a sapling and plant it somewhere and say this is agroforestry. So there is a system, there is a science behind that, and please follow that. And same thing, if these negative things do not go to the politicians or policy makers, then when they make the policy, they think, oh, everything is okay, it's very easy, let's go it. So that scientific background and, of course, the local knowledge has to be very seriously reviewed and followed. So, few examples why I'm saying that it's not always everything is rosy. So, during 80s and 90s, India planted millions of eucalyptus trees because it was fast growing and everything was green and very good. But then, like 7 to 8 years' time, it was recognized that the particular species that was being promoted was a very water-hungry species. The water utilization was very high, and it started affecting the crop production. So same people who were very enthusiastic to plant, they went and destroyed all the trees. I think a similar case is from Spain or Portugal. If I remember correctly, a lot of eucalyptus were planted in city spaces, and on the side of the road, And we all know eucalyptus leaf is very severely allelopathic. They create a lot of secondary metabolites which goes to the land. And then the understory is completely destroyed, where the grasses and those things. So no insect, nothing there. And that affects the population of the birds. So suddenly people started feeling, what happened when I was walking on this street, there were a lot of birds, but suddenly all of them are gone. So again, the biodiversity was negatively affected, and those trees, yeah, it was in Spain, sorry, yeah, in Spain. So there are many examples. I think let's go a bit faster. So again, this is the picture in the background is from one of our projects, that how the agroforestry has changed the whole agricultural landscape, full of water, trees and crops, everything together. And of course, the same point I already mentioned, that it's not only positive things, positive results that we should be sharing. We should be telling the both side of the story, that if we do not do things right, then there is a repercussion. There is a loss, of course. So it's not very simple thing. We have to go by system, and we have to follow the science-based or evidence-based planning. So again, as I said in the beginning, it's the 50th year of, or 50th birthday of agroforestry, where we are. So the estimate is from 500 million to 1 billion hectare agroforestry is practiced in the globe. Why I'm saying this big range? Because it's very difficult to find a correct number. Some places it is like 0.6 billion, some places is 1. So let's keep it safe. We are somewhere at 60.6.7 billion hectare, and estimated 1 billion people practice and get livelihoods and benefits out of agroforestry. Majority of this, which is almost 40 million, is in South and Southeast Asia, and rest in different places. So I personally feel it's a huge achievement in 50 years, when something was conceived, developed, implemented, and we have the impact also. My colleague is very fond of doing these effects. I don't like, so what can I do? Okay. Different types of systems where, for timber, for fruit, for different purposes. So in EURAF, it was very encouraging for me, and I'm really very happy to see that almost every European country, there is a discussion at country level and at EU level. I got the opportunity to attend few sessions focused on policy. So what are the lessons that we have learned from the previous experiences, and what should be included in the policy, so that the policy answers to all of us? This is, it could be my ambition to get involved in 20 countries who are making policy. This is my ambition. But what is the ambition of the country, the government? What is the ambition of the end user, the farmer? What is the ambition of the industry? And I very often say that agroforestry is one of the most multidisciplinary science. I don't know any other science which is so much diverse, so much multidisciplinary. We are linked with water, we are linked with soil, we are linked with food, we are linked with timber, we are linked with, there is an endless list that you can go on. So once something is so multidisciplinary, so complex, so diversified, and then the end user also, the generic name farmer looks very fine, but as I said in the beginning, that farmer in USA, in Australia, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, their requirement, their ambition, their survival strategy is completely different. So with all these complexities, we do need a separate policy in every country because already so much complexity is there, and if we start putting it with in 5 policies, something here, something there, it will be very difficult to achieve something. So what is the biggest expectation out of any policy in any country? To simplify the rules, existing rules, remove the restrictions. It could be anything. Some countries require you to get a permit from the forestry department to cut a tree. Other countries ask you to have a permit to transport it. Somewhere, when you get money, then the process is so complicated that you say, no, I don't want this money. Please keep your money with you. Even this carbon credit is the same. Farmers are not in a position to complete all those formalities. So the topmost is to simplify the rules, reduce the hurdle, and then the rights of the tree planters. So it's not the case universally that if I'm planting a tree, land belongs to me. There are dozens of systems in different countries where the landowner is somebody else and I am a sharecropper or I am renting the land. So what is my right if I plant that tree? So these things are to be supported and paid attention. The other thing which comes again and again is the technical support or training or extension services, how to do that, how to make these things simple in local languages. And mostly the work that we do on agroforestry or any other thing, it's project-based. What happens when the project ends? Do we have a system that farmer can get the support? We have tried, organizing something called resource center or call center, where farmers can call and ask for help that, I have this problem, this disease, why my tree is drying. But it's all in experimental phase. Maybe through policy, governments can formalize this kind of service. And now with all the technological advances and AI, I think it should be easier. The other thing which is very important is the finance. So I don't know what is the situation in Europe, but in Asia, if you are a farmer and go to a bank and say, I need a loan to grow wheat or rice or sugarcane, there is a system, you get a loan and you do your thing, and when you sell your crop, you can repay it. But you go there and say, I want to have an orchard and I want to do agroforestry. Sorry, sir, there is no procedure for that. So, and I talked to these financial institutions that, what is the problem? And they said, the problem is you. Because you are not giving us concrete data. We know if a farmer is taking loan to grow rice or wheat, we know in 1 hectare what is the potential, how much income he will get, how much I can loan, that my money is safe. But we don't know what is happening in agroforestry. Somebody is growing eucalyptus, another is growing mango, the other one is growing something else. So give us the data that we can make an instrument to loan money. Insurance is the same thing. People can insure their cows and buffalo, but not trees. Another issue is the planting material. So when a farmer goes and buys mango trees, for example, he will come to know after 5 years what he has planted. Maybe it's a very bad variety, low yielder, bad taste. So that is also something. And the last thing, which is my favorite, very often we are asked the question, especially in the context of Asia and Africa, that unless things are in scale, no private sector is interested to buy. So no matter what you produce, no company is coming to your village to buy the thing. And I think everybody is using Uber. Everybody knows the power of aggregation. That is the answer. And again, sorry, very often I'm going back to India because I get a lot of good examples from there. There is a world's largest farmers cooperative, which is called Amul. It's a dairy farming farmers. and none of their members produce more than 3 liters, 5 liters of milk, but their daily milk processing is in millions of liters. And if you go and visit there, you can find students from Harvard and other business school studying the model that how these things are managed. So I think that is the answer, aggregation for all the agroforestry products. So are we happy where we are in agroforestry? So if we see the data, globally, like 43–44% agricultural land is already under agroforestry. I don't think we can convince 100% farmers to adopt agroforestry, so we need to start thinking what would be the next area of expansion. Maybe we can increase 10% more, 15% more in the agricultural landscape. So where to go? And to me, there are a lot of mega initiatives started by different governments that I will be talking a little bit later. But the concept of trees outside forest, I think if we call us agroforesters, we need to be a little bit broad-minded now. And we should focus on trees outside forest concept, which is much more inclusive, and agroforestry is part of that. So if we only look at the agricultural landscape, probably it will be like a peak, and then we will not have land to expand. So we have to go to the trees outside forest, and that takes me to some examples. So currently, Saudi Arabia is doing an initiative called Saudi Arabia Green Initiative. Almost 10 million trees are already planted, and rehabilitation of 40 million hectares. Now, my thinking or question or suggestion is, can we talk to these people and convince them? Time up? Okay. So how many minutes I have? 2? Okay, good. So how can we convince them to convert this single planting operation in a mixed planting operation like an agroforestry? Can you plant a second story? Because you are already there, you are doing that. So let me jump to, I don't want to. Okay, the other area where we can expand is the horticulture or the, big plantations for fruits. Mostly when it's a small area, then people do some mixed cropping. But all the corporate plantations in India, in Mexico, in Pakistan, China, which is almost 3 to 5 million hectares, nobody wants to intercrop anything because they think the taste or the quality of the mango will change. That is a research area for us to create something. Okay. So, one more example. We were talking about younger people are not interested in continuing in agriculture or agroforestry or staying in villages. So with all these technological advances, I found one person who is very highly educated, and he started a startup where you can rent a tree of any fruit, and all the produce will be harvested and sent to you. And it started in 2020, and they are already managing 100 hectares. So for the younger colleagues who doesn't want to go in the field and plant, there are other options also in agroforestry. So I'm not going to read this, some food for thought. One thing that I would like to emphasize, I believe the ecosystem services part is very underrated. We are only talking about carbon fixation, but it's a long list here I have given. I know there are some that some of the colleagues will say this is controversial, but still we need to start thinking in these directions so that it's not only the payment for carbon fixation. There are a lot of things that trees are doing, and people should get the benefit of that. So next WCA will be in Costa Rica, 2028, June 28 to 2nd of July. Please keep looking the website of IUAF, that is International Union for Agroforestry, and try to attend it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Javed, for a very nice presentation, the outlook of world agroforestry, and that we can take some examples, good examples from the Global South to be transferred to Europe, which is a very good case for agroforestry.
One question to audience. Anybody knows who said this? No, nobody can say because nobody said this. I did it last night, so nobody knows.